Our diversity must lead to prosperity. We must work together.
We must work together. That is an appeal coming from Mr. President, and that appeal was made yesterday in Oka, Anambra State, when he visited the state on the invitation of the state government to commission some projects. They are not from the same political party. The president is from APC, and the governor of Anambra State from Abuja. But party wasn't the issue, and that is what we are discussing today on Political Update, Political Tolerance. So I invite you to stay back as we go into discussion on this all-important issue as we count down to 2027 general election. My name is Mie Ogedi. You are welcome. Astute politicians on the platform of the defunct Congress for Progressive Change, CPC, has thrown their weight behind the transformative leadership of President Bola Tinubu beyond 2027, owing to what they described as a working presidency. Political correspondent Abubakar Akwanga tells us the details.
The group, led by former governor of Nasarawa State, Senator Morutanko Almakura, said the CPC bloc of the All Progressives Congress, APC, is determined to contribute to the success of the present administration and affirmed that there is no faction or division amongst members.
We must remain steadfast, patient, and supportive. We commend the bold steps taken by President Tinubu, and we urge Nigerians to trust the process, knowing that the foundation being laid today will lead to a more prosperous and secure future.
Senator Almakura further appealed to Nigerians to rally around the renewed hope agenda of the president and urged those craving for immediate solutions to Nigerian economic challenges to remain resolute and confident under the APC administration.
As we move forward, we do so with renewed strength, a deep sense of responsibility, and an unshakable commitment to the APC and the success of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, and ultimately the future of our beloved country.
Some of the chieftains at the World Press Conference were Governor Dikko Umar of Katsina State, former Governor of Katsina State Aminu Bello Masari, former Minority Leader of House of Representatives Farouk Adamu Aliyu, Chairman National Drug Law Enforcement Agency General Buba Marwa, among other chieftains of the APC. In Abuja, Abubakar Akwanga, NTA News.
As we saw from the opening of this program, yesterday, President Bola Tinubu was in Anambra State and inaugurated some legacy projects. The president was quite impressed with the developmental strides of Governor Soludo. For Mr. President, Soludo is a solution provider. What was most interesting was the fact that one can hardly notice that they are not from the same political party, but they share the same philosophies of development. So let's take a listen at that, then we go into our discussion.
With our progressive ideological alliance, we will continue to partner with your state to deliver shared prosperity in Anambra and all Nigeria. I'm standing before you that this already designed a Ministry of Transportation is aware to include the connection in the master plan, and it will see attention. Our diversity must lead to prosperity. We must work together.
Thank you for all the hard work you put in to move Anambra and Nigeria forward. We know the state of the Nigerian economy with all its unsustainable dysfunctionalities when you assumed office. You had the courage to tame the Atlantic Ocean in Lagos, and now you have the courage. You are courageously and systematically getting the economy to work again. There is still a lot of work to do, we know. But there is no doubt that in less than 2 years, important building blocks are already falling into place.
So, joining me in the studio to discuss more on political tolerance as political activities in the country ahead of the 2027 general election is a public affairs and also the technical advisor to the Bayelsa State Governor on Communications and Strategy, Everardo Don Abednego. You are welcome to Political Update.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So let's start from your state, Bayelsa State. Would you say the state government having that culture of tolerance when you talk of politics in Bayelsa State?
Yeah, I think first we need to talk about the state of security in Bayelsa State. As a bragging right, our administration, which is largely Christian as a short prosperity government, has been able to ensure that we do the needful. What is the needful? To ensure that the first thing that is deserving of any government anywhere in the world is to ensure that there is peace and tranquility, protection of lives and property, and critical infrastructure of government, bearing in mind that Bayelsa State, and indeed the John Nation, is largely known for achieving that. We came in government that grounds, which is people, stakeholders, which be now the only political space for the house. That's why I say, progression and process. As a state, in terms of building structures for reprofiling Medicare and Medicaid, to ensure that the educational status of the state, we have a new look, where children and kids and wards of the state can come to Abuja here, living in Nigeria, coming to Abuja to compete with folks, their colleagues and their peers from all states of the country. And of course, whenever given the privilege to travel abroad, they can make this nation proud that they belong to a state and the country where things are done greatly well.
That is a very perfect way to take off. But I know I don't want to dispute the fact that the state governor is also bringing in other party members to his cabinet. I can attest to that. For instance, the commissioner for lands, I guess, is from APs and other appointees, even special advisors. But when you talk of political tolerance, as of now in Bayelsa State, there is an issue ongoing, the new associates. And some persons reportedly participated, about 27 members, special advisors and SAs participated in that process. And we were told that they were relieved of their appointment because they participated. Will you describe that as a political tolerance, or there is more to it that you were explaining to Nigerians about that issue?
As a government, we have largely tried as much as possible not to lend credence to issues of distraction. In as much as we are concerned as Bayelsans, and indeed as a government, we do not have time to discuss about things that, of course, are going to derail us from the prospect of having democracy, good governance, that will ensure that there is development for our people. It is not true, after all, that there are crises of whatever political guise in Bayelsa State. People do have right to air their views. In fact, as an administration, what we do is to ensure that we boost the feedback mechanism of the state by ensuring that the pulse of the people at every time is felt by government. And so it does not matter which political lane you think you belong. What's most important is that at every time identify what government is doing that is transforming your environment. Say, government, you're doing right. Lend credence to that by showing solidarity. However, where you see government not doing things right, wake up smartly and speak against it. But all of these must be done, whether for or against government, must be done within the ambit of law and good conscience. That is what we've been doing. It is not true, after all, that in Bayelsa State, there is an upheaval somewhere because some people are feeling otherwise about it. No. You see, look, we have said again and again, the level of tolerance we have in Bayelsa State can't be seen anywhere in this country. Because, like you did allude a moment ago, in our administration, folks from other political parties, across party lines. They are all part of the government. It's not because PDP as a government do not have the requisite hands to do all of that. The essence is to ensure that we'll have a government of brotherhood, the one that belongs to everybody. And so even in terms of projects execution, we do not look at which party, which community voted for PDP. No. If we're giving light, light should be given to all by essence. If we are building road like we're doing, building critical infrastructure for the development and transformation of the state, what is most important is the people. It is not true after all that by essence, and indeed the administration is perturbed about what someone is saying, they belong to another party. It is true after all. If you want to organize a rally, you want to do anything in Bias State, you are free to do that, but please remember, there are laws that must be adhered to at all times. This is a government that's a product of law and order, a product of democracy. All we need to do as a government is to weave in all persons, all shades of opinion, and ensure that we are guided by the principles of law, order, and good conscience. And that's why even the principles of administration are all built within the constructs of the instrumentality of law.
Okay, so you mean no political appointee was sacked by the governor?
Well, when we talk about political appointees, the governor is the sheriff in town at all times, and that is what is done in all spheres of the world. One thing is this: if you are an appointee of government, including the one speaking here, and if you do things that are not in tandem with the principles of the administration and things that will undermine the peace and security of the state, then you do not have any business whatsoever to be in the government. And so if anyone is asked to walk out of the government peacefully and peaceably so, and profoundly right, there's not a wrong. The governor is doing that which is going to bring prosperity, calm, peace, tranquility. Look, what is being given to Bayelsa State as kudos for ensuring being the most peaceful state in the country must not be undermined by the interests of an individual or a community. And that is why we are calling on all critical stakeholders in Bayelsa State, whether at home or in diaspora. Let us work together as a family. And it's getting better because there's virtually no sector of the Bayelsa society that is being left behind. The reason is because the level of inclusivity as required by the tenets of good governance is largely visible in
that
Bayelsa
technically
State.
means they were sacked. So let's leave that aside. The governor is doing his second term. That means he won't be coming back for election, probably, but might have interest for a candidate of his choice or husband. How formidable is PDP in Bayelsa State? How formidable? Are there issues that are trying to tear the party apart?
Yeah, I think it's important to mention that it is a truism, after all, that PDP at the national level is having some challenges, but everything is being done within the ambit of law and good conscience to ensure that those issues are resolved, and we're very optimistic about it. The positive nature of everything that is done is driving towards the direction of ensuring peace and resolution of issues. Having said that, in Bayelsa State, I just said a moment ago that we don't talk about party. The reason being that everything that is happening in Bayelsa State is wonderful leadership enabled by the administration of Governor Doyediri. I can tell you for free that as it is in Bayelsa State, if they say they want to do an election today, everybody will walk on the path of PDP because virtually everything that the people want, the party is giving. The governor is ensuring that the forgotten people of Bayelsa State, for example, if you talk about the three senatorial districts of the state, from Bayelsa West, Bayelsa East, and Bayelsa Central, roads have been built, bridges have been connected. The people that never saw road before are seeing roads. Those bridges that the federal government over the years, right from the commencement of the Republic of this country, has always been saying that, look, we have what we call a terrain difficulty and that no one can dare it. In Bayelsa State, we're showing leadership by daring the difficult terrain to ensure that everyone is woven into this wonderful nest that is providing prosperity. And therefore, it's important to say that it's not about who, it's about the party. Okay. The party has come with a vision
that is my concern as well. There is a group led by George Turner saying that he is the chairman of the caretaker committee of PDP in Bayelsa State. And you are saying there is no issue in the party. Are you just dismissing his part of his committee? Because the PDP South, you know, the House is really having some issues. Just the defection we had from Delta State. When you look at it, I think the whole of South, we're supposed to be a stronghold for the PDP, the only two states standing, Bayelsa and Akwa Ibom State. Are you worried about the level of depletion that the party is facing in the South, and at the same time, the few divisions we're having in the PDP family in Bayelsa State?
Let me dwell strongly perhaps on Bayelsa State. It is true after all that in Bayelsa State, people are not perturbed about what an individual or a couple of cronies feel that they want to themselves. In Bayelsa State, largely the people talk about one party, and it's sometimes worrisome because for one, the strive of the position in the state. When last did you hear or anyone heard of the other parties in Bayelsa State? In Bayelsa State, it's like a one party. The reason is because Bayelsans love a story. The story they love is the story of development. In Bayelsa State, there are no divisions. You just said a moment ago that in the cabinet of the administration of Doyediri, you see folks from other political parties as commissioners, as special advisors, technical advisors, senior special assistants, etc., director generals of boards. The reason is because in Bayelsa State, there is a particular pattern of leadership that has been made possible, the people's leadership, the brotherhood of leadership. And I can say it for free too, that what the governor enjoys in Bayelsa State is so organic and a solidarity that is, performance-driven. It's not the one that will say, want the people to follow. No, we have done something that people are seeing, and that is why ours is the story of performance. And so we are not talking about the existence of, some folks. In PDP, as far as we are concerned in Bayelsa State, there is oneness, there is brotherhood, there is a very solid homogeneity, and we don't talk about any other party. If you ask anyone who is in Bayelsa State, maybe perhaps I'm a government person, so we think, you're speaking in favor of government. In Bayelsa State, we are not worried about any stories. There is just one thing. There is peace and tranquility. There is development. And the governor has also told the people of the state, we have just started the first 1 year of the government. We still have approximately 3 years to go for the second tenure. What do the people want? We want to ensure that the power generation that will promise the people, now the turbines have arrived. And so we're believing that by December this year, Bayelsa State is going to be one among the many states in this country that is going to be having 24-hour power supply.
If we must speak to the topic we are discussing, political tolerance, probably we'll still bring you back to discuss developmental strides in Bayelsa State. So about the issue of political tolerance, the federal government is being governed by APC and then Bayelsa PDP. How would you describe the relationship between the federal and the state in terms of development and other issues?
Yeah, I think when some folks think that the governor is having an uncommon romance with Mr. President and is disturbing them, I think I see reason with them because in Nigeria, leaders sometimes lean on party positions. The relationship between my governor, the governor of Bayelsa State, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a fantastic one. It's like that of the Bible, the one the Bible describes the relationship between David and Jonathan. It's so knitted. It's like a senior brother and a younger brother. Bola Ahmed Tinubu understands the peculiar challenges of Bayelsa State in terms of development, in terms of peace and tranquility, the very strategic position of Bayelsa State in ensuring that we push everything to the side of peace so that when the critical infrastructures of government are protected, one thing is sure, what the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu expects to have 2 million barrels per day can be achieved so that we can drive the economy of this country. Look, anytime the president hears about Bayelsa State, he's interested in wanting to discuss with the governor. The reason is because there are challenges in Bayelsa State that the governor is tackling that over the years, no federal structure in this country was able to dare. And that is why the president loves this governor. He loves the people of Bayelsa State. Reason being that, come on, Bayelsa State is the home of all Ijos. And today, we are prided largely as the most peaceful state in the country. Why won't the president love a governor like that? And remember, a few weeks back, to be very precise, the governor embarked on a project that no one believed is possible for a state government to do, taking road from Inigwa, Nembe to Brass, the depth of the Atlantic, and the governor had reports about it. In addition, we understand the very peculiar security challenges in that area as a result of the marine, challenges. But you know what? The president called for the governor and said, what I've heard and what I've seen, been proven by security chiefs and multinational organizations and civil society organizations, it is good enough we partner. And that is why part of that road has been taken over by the federal government under the leadership of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I'm not holding brief for Mr. President and his spokesman, but I can tell you for free that Bayelsans are indeed happy with the president because of the wonderful collaboration that our state and indeed our government is enjoying. And things are getting better. We believe that much more openings are going to be there for us to enjoy as a people because what we need is transformation. But first, there has to be peace. Anytime we have peace in Bayelsa State, there is peace in the Niger Delta. And by large extension, of course, it affects virtually every sector.
We have just less than 2 minutes to round off this discussion. But let me ask you, are you worried as a PDP member about the level of defections eating your party?
It should be concern of all Nigerians and all well-thinking folks that If care is not taken, the country may be drifting to a one-party state. But I would say, as an Nigerian, as a Bayesan, for us, we are not perturbed about that. Our concern is, how do we get water to drink? How do we get roads to the forgotten people of Bayelsa State? How do we have 24-hour power generation like it was promised and it's been done? How do we ensure that we provide the educational status of our state? How do we ensure we extend and expand the Medicare and Medicare and to ensure that the health insurance policy of the state administration does not leave anyone untouched? This is the story of performance.
So will I say at this point that if I must borrow the words of former Minister of Labour, Chris Ngige, that says it's not about the party, political party is like a vehicle, the destination that matters.
But beside that, PDP has delivered for the Jaw people. PDP has delivered for Bayelsa State. Bayelsa is working. PDP is working. PDP gave Bayelsa State President Goodluck Jonathan that has become an international icon. Anyone from Bayelsa State and the Jaws that speaks otherwise, then the person does not understand the reality of history. For us and for me that is talking here, I'm not talking as a second fiddle in this country. I'm speaking as a man whose community has produced a president. That's the PDP. And that's why Nigerians know that we have hope in this country. But if you ask me about one-party state, no, it's not fair for democracy. But somehow,
it's not
let
one
us
party.
believe that
I think we have Afghan other parties, but would you be surprised, for instance, tomorrow your governor from PDP to come to APC?
It's never contemplated. What the governor is interested in is delivering democracy, the dividends of democracy, to ensure peace, to ensure there's standard education, so that our folks.
But what if that happens?
We don't want to speak. But I'm not the governor. But certainly,
you are a spokesman.
The signs,
you are a spokesman. You are the
signs are not there at all.
Technical advisor on communication and strategy.
Of course.
So whatever you are saying, we conclude that you are speaking from the point of authority and from the governor. So you are a spokesman technically. So anyway,
but maybe I'll add
yes.
the words of the governor, his body language, his performance, his courage tells the story of a love of PDP, a love of development, and one who believes in multi-party system. And that's what we believe in as a government. That's what Bayelsans want. That is what is giving us credence to performance. And of course,
Don, you are truly done when it comes to analysis like this. So I don't want to argue further, but I think that's the much we can take on today's edition of Political Update. My name is Mia Ogede. Hopefully sometime we still invite the technical advisor to the Bayelsa State Governor on Communications and Strategy, Evarada Don Abednego. Having you on the program is quite an interesting one. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm profoundly so.